If you go over to, say, Fulton County, this is going to be interesting as well because, of course, Fulton County is where Atlanta is. You still have a high mean income there, but one of the things we're going to talk about here in a moment in Georgia is the black vote. 44% in Fulton County. That's a place in the general President Biden needs to really run up the score. Statewide in Georgia, black voters are going to have a big say in things as well, 32%, but a place like Fulton County where Atlanta is, that number goes up. Now, as a quick final point here, why do we care so much about this? Well, we're going to be looking certainly at the Electoral College, right? So when we go into the Electoral College here to bring up our prediction map, we start a base case 226, 219. All of these swing states that are on the map, if they start going the way they went last time around, this is how important Georgia is. Like, say, North Carolina, by the way, leaned red. Say Nevada leans blue. Say Pennsylvania maybe leans blue. Then you have, and Wisconsin, just for the sake of argument, leans blue. Even with all that, nobody's getting over the top, right? So you still have Georgia, you still have Arizona, and you still have the state of Michigan on the map there. In that scenario, President Trump would need to run the table, former president. He would need to win all three, Georgia, Arizona, and Michigan, if he wants to be president again. So that's one of the reasons that we're looking at this. We'll reset that and talk a little bit more about Georgia. All right, so keep that in mind here as we bring Cliff Albright in. Cliff is he's been on the show before, he's the co-founder of Black Voters Matter. Okay, long way of saying welcome. I just wanted to go through some numbers on that. The black vote in Georgia, and in the election in particular, where is President Biden now? Should he be concerned? Where does he stand?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I think President Biden stands pretty much very similar to where he stood 4 years ago. He's got wide support in the black community. It may not be like deeply enthusiastic support, but that was the case in 2020 as well, where black voters were very pragmatic and they recognized he was our best option. But you know, he's not the kind of candidate that makes black voters be excited. But guess what? That's often not the case. And so I think he's in a fundamentally strong position. That doesn't mean that there doesn't need to be improvements in, you know, better messaging and more segmented messaging to black voters, black men, black women, different age groups. So all of that needs to be done stronger and better. But guess what? They're really just now only getting started with that process.
You know, so if you look at Georgia last time around, for example, we have a screen that'll show the voters in 2020. They went 88-11 Biden versus Trump in the black community, right? So what if that number could go down a little bit, to your point, if there's not as much enthusiasm? You know, turnout's important, or do you think he can maintain something like that? Does he need to?
I think he needs to. We know how close it was in 2020, right? Trump famously talked about 11,700 votes.
Yes.
But so I think he needs to, and I think he will. I think that at the end of the day, the numbers in this November are going to be very close to what they were 4 years ago. Is there possible that there's a little bit of a dip? That's possible, but I believe that as we get closer to the election, as the amount of communication and outreach increases, as they fine-tune the messaging, as some people start just getting more information about the things that have been done during the administration, I think that those numbers are going to creep right back up to where they were in 2020. The X factor in this, I will say this, particularly amongst young black voters,
yes.
There's two things that concern me. One is the situation in Gaza, the war in Gaza, that could have an impact on younger voters and younger black voters in particular. And then the second thing that concerns me is the amount of disinformation that we're seeing, especially with the role that AI can play in this election cycle. So
people not getting the proper information to make the right decisions. We're going to talk about the threats assessment. They had a big hearing about this the last couple of days on Capitol Hill. So they're talking about all of the disinformation that come in from whether it's Russia, China, or somewhere else. I'm also interested, though, in your point on the war. We've talked about this with young voters in general. Is it prevalent in the black community more so, where people are upset with the way the president's handled Gaza? And might that be something that hurts turnout in a real way?
Yeah, it potentially could, and we'll get a little bit of insight on that after tonight, as you talked about. We'll be clear about a couple of things. One, potentially who the nominees are.
Yep.
But also, there's been a moderate, nothing like Michigan in terms of the uncommitted campaign that was done in Michigan, but there's been a late building, late organized, uncommitted. In this case, there's no category of uncommitted. You actually have to leave your ballot blank. But some organizers started to do that It's been kind of late, so I don't anticipate seeing as big of numbers as what we saw in Michigan. But it'll be interesting to see what that final count turns
Yeah.
out to be, and that might give us some insights as to how that issue impacts November.
Yeah, that's why these primaries, that's about all they're good for now. We know who's going to win, but maybe you get a little hint and it gives the campaign something to work on. Cliff, thank you. Great insight. Thanks for coming on. Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.